Hello, my friends. I'm glad you're here. What happens when we blink? The long answer is pretty obvious. We blink to clean our eyes, to keep them moist. But we also blink to allow our brains to process incoming images and stimulate our retinas. In the flash of time it takes to blink, our brains also do a momentary reset in an attempt to allow mental information to form and be considered. But during that time, for the briefest of moments, our brains stop. What happens during that time? That time we don't notice we aren't thinking, aren't looking, aren't processing. The short answer is everything. Close your eyes and enter the Blinkspace. The knot. She quietly watched him. She was expected to take notes, but she always spent a little time first just watching. It often revealed more than any pile of notes. His hands shook as he tied the knots. The rope was a greenish, hempish kind of rope, with lots of chaos in the weave. She imagined how rough it would feel running through her fingers. His hands were old, sporting wrinkles and dark brown patches. She watched as the knot grew in complexity. His shaking fingers slid rope in and out of loops, twisting and tugging. After an intense 20 minutes, he seemed done. He held the ball of string in the air, staring at it. Nothing happened, but Elizabeth found herself leaning inward, also looking at the knot. He stopped staring and set it on the floor. His face was filled with disappointment. After a long sigh, he started untying the knot, unraveling his sculpture. Once he had nothing but loose rope in his hand, he stared off into the distance a moment, and then started tying the rope into a knot again. "You'll do that all day," said a voice behind her. She jumped. The intern was a young man, and he smiled at her. "Sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to scare you." "You didn't," she said. "I was just—" She pointed back at the old man. "That's what he does?" "That's all he does. All day, every day." He offered a hand. "I'm Jefferson Carver, but everyone calls me Bug." She shook it. "Elizabeth," she said. "Elizabeth McLaren. I don't have a nickname. Sorry." This time he jumped. "Wait, you're Dr. McLaren?" When she nodded, he asked, "Why didn't you let us know you were here? We've been waiting for you." She shrugged and smiled. "I don't like making a big fuss." "It's not a fuss, Dr. McLaren. It's just that we had an orientation planned and everything." He stepped away. "Is now a good time?" She glanced back at the man in the white room, alone with this piece of string. "I suppose," she said. They left. He finished another knot and stared at the new one. When nothing happened, he wept, and then started untying it. "Hello, Douglas," said Dr. McLaren. He spared her a glance and then went back to work. She watched a moment and then asked, Can you tell me what you're trying to do?" He shook his head and continued knotting the rope. "It's okay," she said. "I just want to know. I'm not here for any other reasons than to understand." He glanced up again, a little longer, focused on her, and then bent back to his work. "Not right now," he muttered. When she was sure he was done, she tapped on the door and it opened. "Not bad," whispered Bug as he relocked the door. "Dr. Finch worked with him for 6 months before he even spoke to her, and you're getting a verbal response after 3 weeks. Elizabeth watched Douglas through the observation window. His old fingers unwound the latest knot as he shook his head in frustration. "There's something about him," she said. "I can't put my finger on it, but there's something just past what we can see." Bug nodded. "Everybody's got a pet project," he said. "Douglas isn't too bad. Pretty quiet. At first we were worried about the rope thing, so we only gave him little pieces. But we figured out he wasn't being trouble, so the docs have pretty much let him have what he asked for, rope-wise." He watched the old man through the glass. "He's still dangerous, I guess, but he's content with his rope." "No," said Dr. McLaren, shaking her head. "He's a lot of things, but he's not content." "I can't remember," muttered Douglas. "Sometimes I come close, but then it's gone. So far, it never works anyway." He held up his finished knot, turning it in his hands, staring, and then sighed. "I keep trying," he said. "I have to get it right eventually." "What happens if you get it right?" asked Dr. McLaren. "You'll see," he replied, and bent his head to concentrate. "You're not tired of him yet?" asked Bug. "No, not yet," said Dr. McLaren. "I think it's a sort of game. I think he's waiting to see if I'm still willing to play." "A game?" She nodded, watched the old man weave rope through the glass. "I think he wants me to know. I think he even wants me to help, but I have to unwrap the layers of meaning first. I get the feeling that the things he says and does are several layers of abstraction from what he thinks he's really doing in there. Living a secret life? In his head, yes. Maybe not secret so much as veiled. Maybe he can't quite peel it open alone, and he wants help. Dr. Finch tried for quite a while before you." "I know, but I think she approached it wrong, or maybe he wasn't so close to giving up." Bug cocked his head. "Giving up?" he asked. Elizabeth crossed her arms. "I think Douglas is getting desperate," she said. "The way he moves seems jerkier and more frightened than when I came here." Bug stared at the old man's hands. "You figured all this out in 3 months?" he asked. "I figured it out in 6 weeks," she said. "The rest has been filling in the details." "Well, don't forget one detail," Bug said. "Which is that?" "He's a murderer." She watched him for 10 minutes before speaking. "Douglas?" He glanced up at her, and then back to his rope. That was his way of greeting her. "Do you know why you're here?" she asked. "It's a pause," he said. "It's between breaths. I'm here because no one's sure if I'm mad or not. If I am, then one thing. If I'm not, then another." She thought about it. "Pretty much," she said. "It's important to be mad for a little while," he said, "until being not mad isn't a problem." "Do you think you're mad?" she asked. "The question means a different thing to you than it does to me." "Why?" "Because when you ask it, You know what the answers will mean. When I answer it, I'll know what the answers mean. But your meaning and my meaning are different. How are they different? You'll think my answer means I'm a murderer, Dr. McLaren. What will your answer mean to you? She asked. My answer will mean, I've shown you I'm not a murderer, he replied. I'm not here on a legal basis, she said. I'm just a doctor interested in you. That's why I talk with you, and not that other gal, the one that was here before you with the horse face. Elizabeth stifled a grin. I've seen pictures of her, she said. She's not that bad. Try being locked up with her, he replied. She was here because the state wanted her here. The state wanted to know if I was mad or not, so they put her here, assigned me to her. What do you suppose she thought? Asked Elizabeth. I'm still here, so I expect she decided I was mad. She nodded. Are you? He smiled a little but kept working the rope. When I do this right, you'll see. When you see what I see, you'll know the question has no meaning. Do you think you'll ever find it, Douglas? She asked. I need to. To prove your innocence? We've all done terrible things, he said, and I'm not an innocent, but at least to prove I'm not a murderer. I read the police report, she said. He hesitated, uncertain, and then continued. Then you already know what you need to know, I guess, he said. I'm sure I appear quite mad. I'm not so sure I can make that conclusion, she said. There are some irregularities, some things I wanted to ask you about. His only reply was the scratchy hiss of rope sliding through his dry fingers. How did you know they were sick? She asked. He stopped and stared hard at her. How were they sick? They were anemic, she said. Not even their doctors knew. He sighed and renewed his nodding. They weren't, he muttered. I talked to the M.E., she said. He remembers it like it was yesterday. It was the one thing that didn't make any sense. 6 completely unrelated children, severely anemic. No one else on the playground that day, and no medical history suggesting it. But you knew. How did you know? They weren't anemic, he repeated. He put his knot down, and his face rose. I'm not being stubborn. I'm being factual. Nobody knew they were anemic because they weren't anemic. He stopped. His face turned pale. He looked down at his knot. I have to start this again. I've lost track of where I was. Douglas, she started to say. I have to get this right, Doctor. Could you please leave me alone? He began to unweave the cord, but his fingers were shaking more than usual. It was late, past 11. She wasn't wearing her suit, just jeans, a turtleneck, and a jacket, a purse. She didn't close the door behind her as she entered the cell. Douglas woke up when she flicked on the lights. What are Dr. McLaren? He asked, blinking back the stars. Not right now, she said. Just Elizabeth. We've been talking for nearly 6 months, Douglas. I think we can be on a first-name basis. He sat up. How can I help you? Elizabeth? No more games, Douglas. No more layers or tricks or riddles. I've learned more. I've talked to people. People you've never heard of. Some of them even know what you're trying to do with your rope. His eyes flickered at the edge of the bed. The length of rope was never far. I want to know, she said. No more games. I want you to tell me everything. I want to hear it from you. I want to know what you saw, Douglas. I want to know everything. He waited a long time before speaking. I used to make animals, he said, out of rope. When you're retired, you drift away, and I didn't want to drift away. So I went to the park and made animals. Gave them away to anyone. It was fun, and once in a while someone else who knew about it would come and teach me a new animal. The kids loved them, and the moms knew I was harmless. I've seen some, she said. People showed them to me. You realize that a lot of them still can't believe what you did. They don't know what I did. They know what it looked like, she said. Unless you explain, that's going to be what they come to believe. Why do you think I do this? He asked, and waved the rope at her. She waited until he continued. I wasn't paying attention one day, just tying, and it got bigger. It wasn't an animal, but there was something to it, something compelling. And I kept going. I was almost out of rope, but I had to keep going. He shook his head, disbelieving his own words. Time and space are weird, he said. We think of travel and we think of boxes and cylinders and things like that. But I think there's other ways to travel, other ways to connect places, and I think I found one. I think I found it in the knot. Elizabeth nodded. What happened? As soon as I finished it, I knew something was different. I knew something had happened to me. The world tilted, but not really tilting, if that makes sense. I could see things differently. I could smell and hear things differently. It even felt different. The air was electric. The sky was brown and yellow. And the land was a plain of smoking craters and ancient death. But I wasn't gone from here. I could still feel the bench beneath me, still hear the birds, still hear the laughter of the children in the park. I could even see them, ghostly and faded. In my hands, the knot felt like a living thing, throbbing and pulsing. I was in two places at once. One was my world, our world, and the other was this horrible place that stank of sulfur and hurt my eyes to see and my soul to consider. I know what you did, she said. I talked to a man who told me you built what he called a treff. The word means a sort of path or route. It's pretty rare. A treff? You mean someone knows about this? His breathing rate increased. Maybe they can talk to the police. Someone was willing to speculate, she said. A treff is more than just an object, it's a part of the person too. I couldn't build the same one you did, only you can, and usually a person can build only one, and it only goes to one place. What did you see, Douglas? It's important. I told you what I saw, he said. You told me what the area looked like. You didn't tell me what you saw. You didn't tell me why you did what you did. He glared at her. I think you can rest assured that I'll believe you, she said. You've already told me more than you've told anyone, and I'm still here. And I've told you something you didn't know. But I need to know what happened next. I need to know what you saw. He took a deep breath and fingered the string in his lap. I don't know what it was, he said, but it was huge. It was like a football field. No, more like 2 or 3. Huge. He closed his eyes, and she saw the pain in his face as he remembered. I thought at first it was just smoke, a big cloud of black smoke. But I guess I also knew it wasn't. It was moving. It was galloping. It had legs and a body, but it was all made of smoke. And it was coming toward me. I knew that. It wasn't just outrunning, it was coming toward me, toward us. It shook the earth. Well, maybe it was earth. I don't think it was, but it shook the ground anyway. And it shook me. It shook my soul. Every footstep I could feel in the ground, but I could also feel in my heart that each step was another beat lost. It was so dark. I should have stopped, should have torn the rope apart, but I was mesmerized. I kept watching it as it came closer. It moved like air, but moved like an animal, too. Then it arrived. It came here and stood high above us, high above the park and the plain in front of me. I could hear something. I'm not sure I can call it breathing, but it was air moving through it was a sound of life. Maybe it was some sort of vocalization, but it was deeper than that, and all around us. I saw tendrils of smoke come from its sides and drop down to the plain and strike the ground. I saw those tendrils spinning and pulsing. I saw it drawing something from the ground, and I saw it pushing something back down through. I looked up to its body, and then I saw its eyes. Its eyes were so deep, so dark. Like stars without stars, like space forever, like hellish nothing. Its eyes were forever and empty. I stared into them and knew we were lost. And then I heard a scream. Not a scream, but more like a squeal. I looked back down to the ground, to the blasted plain at my feet. I also saw the playground in front of me, and I saw where the tendrils had landed. I saw what it was doing. I saw that each tendril had touched the plane where, on my end of the universe, there was a child. I saw children sitting and playing games. I saw children standing, puzzled, and some just caught mid-step, pausing. I saw the tendrils pulling light out of the children, pulling them out of their own shells. I saw them darkening as something else came in from the tendril, something cloudy, something not of this world and barely of this universe. I realized then what the plane was, what this hell was I had tied us to. It used to be a place a lot like Earth, filled with life and growth and joy. And then this thing had come to it and eaten it, had eaten everything. This one thing had destroyed an entire world, and now it was here, and reaching through to ours. Now I saw why it had waited. I had thought that it was trapped on that planet, and I was right, but it wasn't quite trapped. It had a path, and it was waiting, and now it was doing what all things do after they eat. It was reproducing. He looked up at her, "I'm not a murderer," he said. "Those children were already dead the moment it touched them. They were just husks, and it was hollowing them out, feeding on them one last time to fuel its reproduction. It was making them into another one of its kind." "I know," she said. "Does it have a name, too?" he asked. "No, Douglas, it has no name, but you described it right. You described it how I was told it looked. It's the closest thing to death this universe ever experiences. It's the final and permanent end of everything. You were right to stop it. You succeeded. You're not a murderer. You're a savior." She stood up, reached into her purse, and drew a pistol, aiming it at him. His pistol, the one he used on that day. "And you're its only way to get back to Earth." She fired twice. She took the rope from his hands and pulled a cigarette lighter from her purse. She lit the rope and watched it burn. The last of the flames burned her fingers, but she didn't care. It had to be all gone. Douglas struggled for breath. His hand twitched as he tried to reach up. Then she sat down next to him and looked one last time into his shocked face. "I'm sorry, Douglas. I'm so sorry," she said. She held him close until he slipped away, and she kept holding him until the others arrived. If you've enjoyed this story, many more can be found in the collection of short stories by Edward Martin III, Close Your Eyes, Tales from the Blinkspace, available at Hellbender Media at hellbendermedia.com. Also, please consider joining their Patreon at patreon.com/hellbendermedia. This story was written by Edward Martin III and recorded and edited by Andrew Wakefield, who can be found at youtube.com/@awake since 1963.